The Sweetie Jar story is one of the great metaphors for time management. We can learn an awful lot from it about prioritization and the organization of events in our life. My guess is that many of you are too young to remember proper sweet shops where a mum and a dad would run the corner store. When you opened the door, this wall of fragrance would hit you from all the sweets in their jars. The place would be full, hundreds of jars about yay big, full of loose powdered sweets. And you'd walk in and ask for a kilo of that or a couple of ounces of this. Walk out with a little brown bag full of sweets and eat them on the way home. It's a bit like pick and mix in cinemas and service stations now, only better. Now imagine one of those Sweetie jars in front of you, lid off, open, all the sweets gone. Sorry, it's empty. That Sweetie jar represents your day, your week, your month, your diary, your life, if you wish. How can we fill that Sweetie jar? If we take a rock about the size of my fist, how many rocks can I get in that Sweetie jar? If I can get 4 or 5 big rocks in that Sweetie jar, does that mean the Sweetie jar is full? No, because there's lots of space around the big rocks, but I can't get any more big rocks in there. What can I get in there? Small rocks. Okay, so we put a bunch of small rocks in there and fill in the gaps. Now, is the Sweetie jar full? No. You can get pebbles and sand and dust. Shake it all down and top it up with dust. Now, is the Sweetie jar full? No. You can get some liquid in there as well, some water. So we've got big rocks, little rocks, pebbles, sand, dust, water. Knock all the air out, top it up with water. And now the Sweetie jar is full. Any smart Alex want to split the atoms? I'll sort you out later. This Sweetie jar is full. Imagine emptying the Sweetie jar and starting all over again. This time, start with the liquid. Fill it to the top with liquid, knock all the air out. Is the Sweetie jar full? Yes. And unfortunately, that's what happens to most of us. So we wake up in the morning and the world and his wife are going to send us a bunch of messages. It's like they vomit all over our Sweetie jar. Blah! And our Sweetie jar's full of liquid and a few floaty bits. We have no control over the sense of importance or proprietary of the events that come our way through those messaging systems, be it letters or emails or phone calls, jobs that your boss wants you to do. There's no control over the balance of importance and urgency. It's up to us to work out what are the most important things to put in our Sweetie jar first. If we work out from a sense of importance the most important things and push them into the Sweetie jar first, then we can build our day or our week around those important things. Put the small rocks around the big rocks, the pebbles around the small rocks, the sand. And if we build our days that way, there's always a bit of room left at the end of every day for a little bit of liquid. Now you choose water, coffee, Chardonnay, Cointreau, I don't mind. If you start with a liquid, there's a bit of a problem, even if it's not the alcoholic kind. And most of us do start with the liquid. Stuff is thrown at us that often comes with other people's sense of urgency and possibly a sense of priority. There are these two facets that most people consider make up prioritization, and one is called a sense of importance and the other is called a sense of urgency. Unfortunately, those two words have merged over time, and now if you ask someone if something's urgent and if it's important, they think you're talking about the same thing. And it's not. We have to separate those two parameters out. The only priority is the sense of importance. The sense of importance tells us whether to do a task. The sense of urgency tells us when. We only need to measure the sense of urgency if we've decided, yes, this is important enough to do. But how do you know if something's important? The secret is from a guy called Wilfredo Pareto. You might have heard of him. Some say he was an Italian economist, some say he was a sociologist. He was an intelligent guy. He worked out that approximately 20% of the people in Italy owned 80% of the wealth of the country. And that rule, the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle, has been applied to many, many, many things since then. So 20% of your products will produce 80% of your revenue. 20% of your sales force will produce 80% of your sales. 20% of your directors will give you 80% of your headaches. 20% of your staff will be off sick 80% of the time. And the figures nearly work out. You're there or thereabouts. Well, put that comparison together with time management. And the average working day for the average person is 5. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What is 20% of 5? It's 1. So in one day, most of us produce 80% of our contribution to our job or our business. What did you do with the other 4 days? I thought you said you was busy. And that's the problem when you apply Pareto to time management. We might sit there in the morning and brainstorm a list of things to do, which is a great activity. And you come up with 20 things that you've got to do today. They are not of equal importance. Pareto would say only 20% of those are the big rocks. 20% of 20 is 4. You've got 4 strategically important things to do for your job or business. And those are the ones you've got to put in the sweetie jar. And the sweetie jar is your diary. It's got to transfer off of the parking list, the to-do list, into the non-discretionary time slots that come in the schedule. Decide when you're going to do them. Make an appointment with that task or that event as if it were your bestest friend, because it is. 60% of your diary allow to be your normal day job. If you're getting paid for it and it's a normal task, a normal event, it's just average, it's still really important to your business. If you're at home, reading a bedtime story, that's part of being a dad or a mum, that's your job. Being the taxi driver, taking them to the swimming club, that's normal life. That's important stuff. And 60% of our working lives and our personal life should be devoted to that important normal stuff. But a Pareto item is more important than your day job. It is sharpening the saw. If you use a saw, by the very fact that you use it, you blunt it, you wear it out. It's got to be sharpened. Sharpening the saw is more important than using the saw. And every job has that. There's doing the job and there's making the job better. There are 4 strategic imperatives for any business. Making money. A business must thrive financially. How are you going to get money off of people, customers? You've got to keep them satisfied. That's the second absolute imperative for a business. If you delight your customers, they come back and buy more. If you seriously blow their socks off, then they're going to refer their friends and family. How do you get happy customers? Well, you've got to keep your staff and your suppliers happy. That's the third business imperative. Employee and supplier satisfaction gives you customer satisfaction. If your employees and suppliers are unhappy, it's really tough to create customer satisfaction. And a strange thing happens when you keep your employees and your suppliers happy. They innovate. They find one of the 7 forms of waste and cut them out of your business. They find the shortcuts. They also find those new widgets, those derivatives of your current products and services, which could make you more money than your current products and services. And when you've brainstormed a list of things to do and you've got 20 things on that list, you can measure any of them by those 4 imperatives. Which ones make you the most money, which ones improve customer satisfaction or employee satisfaction, which ones innovate. Each item is going to be different in its value, and the more impact it has on any one of those business imperatives, the more important it is. If it impacts 2 out of the 4, it's seriously important. 3 or 4 out of 4, rock and roll, you've arrived. You've really found something that's massively important. And our job is not only to brainstorm a list of things to do, they have to be prioritized. We've got to work out which rocks are going to go in that sweetie jar. Big rocks, ordinary size rocks, pebbles, sand and water. If we don't put the big rocks in, it's going to be full of water. None of you have nothing to do all day. Very few people come on a time management course and say, Bob, I've got nothing to do. Can you give me something to do? You know, most people come on to time management programs and go, whew, I go busy, busy, busy all day long, go, whew, that was a busy day, look at my list and go, whoa, I haven't done half of it yet. Never mind, there's a tomorrow. And then tomorrow I go busy, 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 busy all day long and I still haven't done what I wanted to do. We're busy people. You're busy people. The sweetie jar is full. We just got to get things in the right balance. Look at any list of things you've got to do, any goals, any tasks, and measure their relative sense of importance. Use Pareto. Solve the prioritization conundrum with maths. 20% of any given list is going to be the most important. 60% is pretty much average day job stuff. Put the big rocks in your diary, put it in the schedule, make it non-discretionary, get it off the wish list and put it in the schedule. Build the small rocks around the big rocks and leave at least 20% floating spare in your diary, your day or your week or your month. We need a bit of space to move things around. Many of you, I guess, will have played little flat quizzes when you were children with little squares, and you had to move all the little squares around in order to get the numbers in the right order or end up with a pretty frog. Do you remember those? How do they work? How comes you can move the squares around those flat puzzles? It's because there's a space. No space, no work. And in terms of diary management and life management, there has to be a space. Why? Because at some point in any given day or week, some waste material is going to hit that ventilator fan and go pfft. Now, I have no idea when a problem is going to occur in my life or yours. We have to leave some space. And if that problem arises, we take the big rock that we wanted to work on, that we plan to work on, and move it. We give it a fresh appointment and deal with the crisis. If we have no space in our day or our week or our month, we haven't got the capacity to move things around. That strategically important stuff will get pushed to one side and sometimes, unfortunately, forgotten. So the sweetie jar story is a massively important metaphor for time management. We have a defined space, whether it's the sweetie jar or your day, your week or your month. We have to prioritize what's going to get into that sweetie jar. Go looking each morning for the big rocks. Find the Pareto items, get them off the to-do list and into the schedule. Make an appointment with your best Pareto friend. And you will then, over time, make significant progress. You'll be far more effective.